Before we understand Jesus' preferential option for the poor, we have to understand God's preferential option for the poor. God incarnates himself as Jesus among a poor family in a poor village, and Jesus himself preaches among the poor and preaches about the poor.
This is how God is. He is a God who had a special love for those who had no one to turn to. Not because they're righteous, not because they're the most holy and most saintly, but because they are in need, and God comes to their rescue.
In Matthew 25, Christ tells us, "Whatsoever you do for the least of my brothers and sisters, you do unto me." And it's such a beautiful reminder for us that the people we serve who are in poverty, who are in need, are in fact the face of Christ, and because of that have so much to teach us.
So when we go to encounter the poor, let us encounter them as a fellow poor person. Not from a perspective of superiority where they're in the dark, I'm in the light, all of these things. No. I grow in my own humanity when I encounter the person of the poor.
Who are the poor in our society? The poor are those people who are really, really marginalized amongst us. The most vulnerable. Those who are forgotten in society.
Here in America, I don't think anyone can say, well, I do not know what's happening in those other parts of the world. But it's not enough to know. We should allow what we see, what we hear and know really touch us. And for us to have that mindset, I may be an American, the person who just lost his whole family is from Syria. But at this point of suffering, we are one.
The preferential option for the poor calls us to address both immediate needs and systemic problems, to look both at the person in front of us and to give them what they need in that moment, but also to say, why is this person in this place? What has happened in our society? What are the larger issues at work, and how can we address those larger issues?
When we see the situations to which the poor are subjected, dehumanizing, humiliating, you could say that those situations manifest the lack of love. Lack of love from other people, lack of love from society, for they did not choose to be poor. They are made poor by others and by systems and structures and society.
In our political lives, in our economic lives, in our social lives, whatever we do, we should always put the poor first.
People try to make caring for the poor out to be something very difficult or complicated or hard to understand. It's not. It basically means a few things. First of all, being charitable to the poor, giving to organizations that care for the poor, giving directly to the poor. It means loving the poor as our brothers and sisters. It means coming to know them, touching them, holding them, shaking their hands, and really physically coming in contact with them, because otherwise, how would we show our love?
What a shame if a community claims to be the bearer of the good news, for that community not to live it, not to embody it. No? And so we ask the question, if the church will not do it, then who else will?